2,000 years of dust cling to the arena, but the myths still glitter like fresh gold. Today, you will watch 7 movie legends about Gladiator's collapse, one by one, and by the end, you will grasp what the arena truly demanded from those who fought there. If you enjoy Roman history, subscribe so you don't miss the next episodes. Gladiators were professional combat performers in the Roman world, most active from the late Republic into the High Empire. They fought in amphitheaters under rules, with referees on the sand and a sponsor, the editor, presiding from the podium. We meet them in the pages of Juvenal and Martial, in the histories of Suetonius and Tacitus, and in Galen's medical notes on bruises, fractures, and stubborn diets. What was at stake was not random carnage, but choreographed risk honor for fighters, prestige for patrons, and the city's claim that even violence could be disciplined. Yet cinema loves shortcuts. Keep 3 questions open while we proceed. Who paid, who profited, and who survived? One answer will flip your view of the famous thumbs before this is over. The first myth insists that every fight ended in death. The image is clean and cruel. A decisive thrust. A corpse in the sand, the crowd howling for more. Reality was costly and calculating. A lanista invested months of food, housing, training, and medical care into each fighter. A dead star meant lost capital, fewer tickets next month, and a hole in the playbill. Inscriptions and anecdotes show many bouts ending with missio mercy granted, when defeat was clear and courage proven. A murmillo might corner a net and trident man, the referee's staff slicing the air to freeze the action, the editor weighing crowd mood against the value of living talent. The point was not to pile bodies. It was to sell suspense, reversal, and skill under pressure. But if death was not automatic, what did the crowd's gestures actually decide? The second myth gives a simple code. Thumbs down meant death. Thumbs up meant mercy. Films adore that moment. A swift verdict from a raised throne. Ancient Latin is less generous. Sources mention pollis verso, with a turned thumb, without fixing direction or meaning. Some scholars see an extended thumb as the sign for an unsheathed blade and death. Others argue the closed fist with hidden thumb meant sheathe the sword and spare the loser. What never changes is the arithmetic beneath the gesture. The editor had a reputation to protect, a budget to manage, and a crowd to appease. The lanista wanted his fighter alive. The city wanted a good show without scandal. The hand theatrically sealed a decision that money, contract, and consensus had already prepared. So why do films present emperors as whimsical executioners? Because the deeper mechanism is harder to stage and easier to miss. We will come back to that mechanism once we follow the fighters home. The third myth claims all gladiators were slaves, dragged to the arena in chains. Many were enslaved, indeed prisoners of war, condemned criminals, or debtors. Yet the schools also signed volunteers, the octorati, freeborn men who sold their bodies into the ring for pay, glory, or escape from other obligations. They inked contracts, accepted training, and absorbed the social stigma for a shot at prize money and a traveling name. Imagine a young Italian farmer watching a champion take a purse while the crowd chants his stage name. The farm is failing. The legion refuses him. The school accepts him, shaves his hair, hands him a wooden sword for drills, and gives him a style to learn. His old life narrows to a slit behind a visor. Choice existed, though it lived inside Roman discipline. If volunteers entered willingly, how did they prepare to survive more than a single season? The fourth myth dresses them like modern bodybuilders and trains them for instant knockouts. The arena valued endurance and control more than shredded definition. Gladiators were nicknamed hordearii, barley men, for a diet heavy in barley, legumes, and porridge. Galen describes plant ash tonics to restore minerals and harden bones under repeated blows. The goal was to stay upright behind a shield, manage breath in heat, and read an opponent's timing under a helmet that tunneled vision. Step into the yard at dusk. Wicker swords crack against leather shields, feet stamp in cadence, and the drill master barks numbers more than insults. The body learns to carry iron without panic, to explode in short bursts, and to reset without wasting air. If so much was deliberate, why do films keep throwing random weapons into random brawls? The fifth myth claims the arena was chaos. Anything goes. Real matches were curated duels between defined types. A tactical chessboard written in metal and leather. The heavy, broad-shielded murmillo often faced the agile thraex with a curved secutor. The neck and trident retiarius met the smooth helmet secutor, whose visor resisted the net's hooks. Armor coverage and weapon reach were deliberately asymmetrical, designed to create visible puzzles the crowd could follow. Referees policed fouls, and seconds stepped in to separate dangerous clinches. A whistle or staff could halt a surge before it turned into a maul. The best bouts looked like narrow escapes strung together, each decision forcing a counter-decision. The spectacle was readable tension, not rainstorms of steel. Yet one glamorous image prowls every movie poster. A gladiator locked with a lion. Did that actually happen as a standard attraction? The sixth myth tells us gladiators mostly fought beasts. Rome did stage animal hunts the Venetians with specialist hunters called venatores and bestiarii. Condemned criminals died by beast at midday in savage executions. But the headliner of the afternoon was human versus human, rule-bound and refereed. The day often rose like a staircase. Exotic hunts to excite, punishments to warn, and then the main card duels to enthrall. The lion at a gladiator's throat is a perfect poster because it compresses fear into a single image. It is not a faithful program. The duel sold character as much as danger. The beast sold awe and distance. Rome liked both, but it kept them in different acts, which leaves the last bright misconception flickering at the edge of plausibility. The seventh myth says women never fought. Rare, yes. Imaginary, no. Reliefs and inscriptions attest to female fighters, sometimes billed theatrically as Amazons. They were spectacle at the boundary, enough to amuse some, scandalize others, and finally provoke a ban under Septimius Severus in the early 3rd century. Novelty sells until it threatens the city's posture of decorum. Then the stage narrows again? So what did the arena truly demand once the myths fall away? It demanded mastery under constraint. Fighters learned to perform courage inside rules that the crowd could read, against opponents chosen to test contrasting strengths. It demanded durability over time. Diets, drills, and medical routines were tuned for absorption and recovery, because a living brand fills more seats than a fallen prodigy. It demanded management as much as ferocity. Editors balanced budgets and public mood. Lannister negotiated appearances and protected assets. Even emperors weighed image, rumor, and the risk of seeming capricious. Follow the money and the crowd, and the famous thumbs shrink into a visible seal placed on an invisible contract. The emperor could posture, but he was not free from calculation. A needless execution could sour a city, offend a powerful family, or burn a profitable storyline too soon. Public mercy could win louder applause than cruelty when a defeated fighter had won the crowd's respect with heart and technique. The gesture on the podium played to the stands. The decision began in ledgers and reputations. That leaves a quieter question pulsing beneath the sand. If death was not the default, how did a gladiator win the long game? He built survival capital. A record of brave losses, narrow escapes, and crisp technique could make a name that traveled from city to city. Bookers sought reliable stories. The crowd loved a recognizable style, a mask with a history, a man whose every entrance promised a specific kind of suspense. Listen to the arena when the afternoon heat finally loosens its grip. The sand smells of oil and dust. The trumpets cut a thin line across thousands of throats. Two figures step into light so bright it erases everything but outline and shadow. A net uncoils, a shield edges forward. The first feint draws the first intake of breath. Nothing is random, and everything feels risky. That is the paradox Rome sold, and the films simplify. The rules could bend, of course, because rules in Rome always bent around power. A sponsor might script a stunning mismatch to flatter a guest. A provincial governor could push for blood to stamp a message on a restless town. A scandal could erupt when a crowd felt cheated by dull play or cynical cruelty. But the baseline remained a disciplined dance that let violence look like order. That was the Roman magic, to make danger legible and therefore acceptable. Consider the diet again, because it exposes the principle. Barley porridge does not make a calendar statue. It makes a machine that moves in armor without quitting. Plant ash tastes like chalk, but it keeps bones from splintering. The camera prefers a glistening torso. The arena preferred a man who could stand after the third clash and still hear the referee's voice. Endurance was the hidden special effect. Consider the weapons again. The curved Sika was not chosen for flash. It was chosen to slip around a big shield's rim. The secutor's smooth helmet was not a fashion. It was a practical counter to the net's hook. Every pairing telegraphed a problem, and every problem taught the crowd how to watch. The people learned what a well-timed sidestep meant, what a failed parry cost, what courage looked like when you were trapped with nowhere to run. Consider the crowd. They were not a single roar, but layers of taste. The cheap seats wanted reversal, the local elites wanted decorum, and the editor wanted both at once. Mercy could be moral theater. Death could be political theater. A draw could be savvy business. The sound that filled the stone bowl was not just bloodlust. It was a public negotiating the line between thrill and shame, between admiration and disgust. Now return to the emperor. Imagine him on the podium, fronted by security and glinting with jewelry. He is less a lightning bolt and more a mirror. He reflects what the city is willing to approve in that hour, with that storyline, for that price. His thumb turns not as a god's whim, but as a showman's cue, placed atop contracts, expectations, and the knowledge that tomorrow the city must still function. Films crave a tyrant's instant doom. Rome fostered a manager's slow burn. Strip away the myths and the arena reveals Rome's favorite ideal. Power made theatrical. Violence made legible. Fate choreographed until it looked like choice. The fighters were not expendable cogs, but costly performers whose bodies carried the city's fantasy of order through danger. The sand did drink blood, but it drank it according to a script the crowd learned to read. If one image should replace the movie poster in your mind, make it this. A battered fighter drops to one knee, not from cowardice, but from calculation. He has shown enough heart to earn missio. The referee raises the staff. The noise gathers in a single rising question. The editor lifts his hand and performs a decision that was written hours before. In negotiations, no camera would follow. The loser lives, the winner bows. The crowd surges, and next month, both names will return to face a fresh puzzle. The truth is less tidy than legend and far more Roman. Which part surprised you more, the ambiguity of the thumb, the volunteers' contracts, or the logic of mercy as good business? Share your take in the comments and tell us where you see echoes of the arena in modern sports and entertainment. If this episode clarified more than it shocked, tap like and subscribe. We post weekly deep dives into the reversals that shaped Rome. Next time, we follow the money behind the Colosseum stagehands, the contracts, the bribes, and the quiet deals that decided who stepped into the light and who never left the shadows.